It's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is Tim Olson, who's going to share his inspiring story of starting off with nothing and achieving financial success. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and bring balance to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. While you're there, you can sign up for a monthly email where I share the best articles I read this month, let you know about upcoming episodes, and share a little wisdom. You can also listen to coaching calls under the Coaching Calls tab. I also share the most interesting articles I read every week on Facebook at facebook.com/Richer Soul. And there's also a Facebook group where you can ask questions and interact with other listeners. Today's opening theme is time, our most precious asset. A quote from William Penn: "Time is what we want most, but what we use worst." How often do you give your time away? Distractions, commercials, your iPhone alerts? Just as we should look at our financials and track our spending to ensure it's in line with our desires, we should also track our time. Where's it going? We all get the same time. How is it some people make better use of it? Do you know where your time goes? That's the first step to bringing about change. It's to measure where you're at. Time also allows us to achieve massive success. It doesn't happen overnight, but small changes over the years really compound. Sometimes we just don't realize how far we've come. And it's nice to turn around and admire the journey we've been on. Which begs the question, do we have to be rich to enjoy life? Or is joy and happiness in the journey? Too often we focus on the money and not the journey, which is where time occurs. We have many guests who say, enjoy the ride. And you can have joy without wealth. Be intentional with your time until you build your wealth. Our guest is Tim Olson. He's a motivator, blogger, small business owner, and author of the book titled Growing Up Nobody. He helps others who may be feeling lonely and hurt, those who just don't know how they are going to make it. He uses his personal experiences to inspire others to move forward and help them break dysfunction. In his book, he talks about being raised in a dysfunctional home. His dad suffered from mental illness and was diagnosed with depression and paranoia. His insecurities made Tim's home life difficult, and it was only made worse when his father lost his dream job. He became angry and bitter, and his family started to fall apart. When Tim's mom left him, he fell into a downward spiral and never recovered. Tim was left to tend to his dad and his mental illness as his mom moved to California and remarried. This occurred when he was 17, and over the next 5 years, he would find himself dealing with delusional thoughts, anger, and his declining mental state, which was made worse when his mom suddenly died. He had believed that the family would once again be reunited, and with her death, he gave up on life. He then had the task of raising his sister and taking care of his dad until he died 3 years after his mom. Tim was 24 by the time all these events occurred. In between, he also had his own personal failures, including a bad marriage. Tim became a Christian at age 40, and this opened his eyes to the power of forgiveness. It helped Tim to forgive the people who had hurt him, as well as helping him to forgive himself. Forgiveness is the biggest part of the book. He believes it helps people, Christian or not, live a better life when you forgive those who hurt you. Because of forgiveness, Tim was able to let go of the anger he carried around for his dad and many others. Now, Tim is a husband, father, and successful business owner. Let's hear his inspiring story. Welcome to Rich Your Soul, Tim. It's great to have you join us today.
Well, thank you, Rocky, for having me on the show.
Always a pleasure. We like to start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
Ooh, that's a good one because I grew up without much money. I guess for a while when I was younger, I didn't ever feel like we were poor. But as we grew a little older and you started to understand and kind of get your own money, start spending your own money and everything, I started to realize that I was living in a family without much money. I think it has different effects on you. To this day, I kind of cling on to things. I'm not a hoarder necessarily or anything, but I use things up. I'm very frugal in a lot of ways. In some ways I'm not, in some ways I am. But I find myself not wanting to get rid of things as fast as maybe other people were, because whenever I got something as a kid, it was kind of a treasure in a way. So I think that can really stick with you. What did I learn from all that? I'm not necessarily super rich, but I do very well. And that comfort, the security, I think that's the biggest lesson I've had in my life is the security money gives you when you're prepared for things and things happen, a car breaking down or something like that, that now it's not really such an issue as it was in years past where you would just freak out. How am I going to fix this car? I found myself walking to work at one point in my life for a few weeks because I couldn't fix my car. And that just wasn't fun.
No, it's not. And that's why having financial stability and financial freedom is kind of the goal, because then you do get to handle life's up and downs, and life is going to have its ups and downs, and you need to be prepared for them.
Right. And it's not about having a ton of money. I think people always think having a ton of money is the answer, where managing the money you do have is more of the answer.
And that's very true. I mean, happiness, I think most of the studies show that at about $75,000 a year, you kind of hit your maximum financial happiness, in the sense that even if you had twice as much as that coming in a given year, your happiness level per se isn't going to increase because of the money. It's other things then that will drive that happiness factor. It's not having more money.
Right. And if you weren't happy before, money's not going to make you happy. And I would agree with that. Number to me seems about right. Once I hit that threshold, I was always good at managing my money to some extent, but that seemed to be the magic number about in that area where I could be prepared for all these bigger problems. $2,000 car repair does not say it doesn't hurt a little bit, but you write the check and you take care of it. And I didn't have to try to figure out where am I going to pull this money from? How am I going to do this? Which credit card am I going to put it on? That's how it was before. You did all this shuffle and this dance and everything instead of just getting it done.
And it's true. At that point, you can have happiness because you can just get it done. You stroke a check. You're not happy. It hurts. You have to pay a bill, but it doesn't change your day-to-day life. You move on.
Right. And sure, maybe you got to put the money back in your account because you took out $2,000 or something. But yeah, that headache and that worry of how you're going to do it just disappears and gives you, it's such a freedom.
So where do you think those money skills came for you of being able to hold on to money and to be able to use it so wisely?
First of all, I think there might just be a little bit of that's inbred in you. My sister and I, as kids, were very different in money. If I got $1, I would go to the store, I would buy a candy bar, and she would spend the entire dollar. And so just at a young age, you saw that. But as I grew older, I just started wanting to make sure I had money for things. So I bought a car right away when I was 16. Well, you got the responsibilities of that. So I didn't ever want to be caught running out of gas and small things like that, that I just started watching it all. And I was working fast food and I started managing very young. And so I was starting to manage that money coming in and going out and the costs and things like that. So that was my big lesson in managing money.
And it seems like you were self-taught. You got the opportunities and you had the right mindsets and you just went for it.
For the most part, self-taught, watching other people, a couple mentors around you that influenced me, type of thing, that would talk about that and wanting to be successful and wanting to live comfortable lives. So I would watch those people. And when you come across somebody like that, it's so nice to watch what they're doing because they're already succeeding. So you want to copy those behaviors.
So when you say they were mentors, were there people who you actually had conversations with about these types of things and who guided you? Or was it more you watched what they were doing and learned from their example?
Mostly watching. I mean, there was at times conversations, and I wouldn't say those are mentors, but the conversations, just having a conversation and exchanging ideas helped build all that in my head about what works and what doesn't work and what's a good idea, not a good idea. Instead of just sitting there reading a book or something, conversations and bouncing ideas back and forth was wonderful for me in learning. I'm not so much a book learner as I'm just a doer and a study of people and stuff. So just watching and talking to people gave me so much information and just made me think and made me try to figure out, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this work in my life?
So are you doing anything different to teach your kids about money?
So much so. Number one, we are trying to have our children live without any debt. My wife and I both didn't come from families with money. We both, of course, when we started out, wanted everything. So car loans and credit cards and whatever, as long as you could afford the payment, we were doing that type of thing. And eventually we found ourselves struggling when other things came up in life that when you're living that close to the edge, you just can't always handle everything. We managed to get debt free except for our home on that. But other than that, we're debt free. And so we are teaching our kids to do that. And our oldest son's 21. He is going to college and he will graduate debt free because he started working at 16, saving money. And we've helped a very tiny bit. Otherwise, he's been doing it. And we're just so proud to be able to watch our children walk out into this world and not have thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, my wife and I both went to college and had just tens of thousands of dollars to pay back when we walked out of there, and he won't have anything.
So how was he able to do it? Did he just pick a low-cost college, or did he make a lot of money? What was his secret to success?
He made okay money, but yes, he's going to basically, you call it a tech school, I guess, but he's going for accounting. He's 3 years. So it's low cost, paying cash for his books. And so between those two things, yeah, if he was going to a big 4-year school and going for some bigger degree, I would say he'd probably be walking out with at least only 50% of the debt most everybody else would walk out with, which I would be okay with, but I'd prefer the debt free. But that was always our goal. Our daughter, I think, will be in that path. We'll be happy if she walks out with that only 50% debt.
And that's a struggle today. People are constantly having the conversation, is college worth it? And how do you get through it? And it sounds like you've had conversations and your kids don't have the expectations of you writing big checks to cover their way.
No, they don't. And our middle son, he just graduated high school this year. He's not going to college because that conversation is college for everybody. It's not. He's one too has really followed our steps in money management and he loves it. And for his 18th birthday present, he wanted me to take him to my financial guy so he could open his own Roth IRA. He's starting that savings already. He's on top of that, and he's going to work for our family business. And I think he's probably going to be the most successful out of the three because he's working at it, and he won't be going to college.
And he doesn't have any regrets with that. He's okay to just go and follow his own path like that and start working and make a great life.
At this point, we do talk to him that if he does want to take over our business, that maybe he should take some classes at some point. And he hated high school so much that he can't imagine it, but maybe that will be in the future, but he'll be able to pay for it if he ever does.
Okay. And you know what? I encourage kids, and I think for a lot of parents, is to say the college path may not be for you. I mean, the entrepreneurial path and running a business has the potential to make a lot more money if you do it right for people, and they have the freedom and the choices to do the things they want. And of course, you don't start off with massive debt in life, which too many kids are getting drug into. So it's nice to see kids who are willing to just step up and do. And it sounds like he didn't like education anyway. I was kind of probably in the same boat. I stuck it out, but now looking back, I see how there are so many other paths available to people.
Right. And same with me. Like I said, I'm not a book learner. I barely graduated high school. In fact, I had to take summer school to actually graduate. I actually did not graduate in the time frame I was supposed to. So for me to go on to college, and I just did a 2-year business degree as well, so I could have some knowledge about running my own business, was difficult. And I'm saying, boy, if I can do it, anybody can do it. But yeah, college isn't for everybody. And it really, I think it was beneficial for me. And I do think there are some areas that could be beneficial for him. But does he have to go through and get an entire degree? No, maybe he just should just do some marketing classes or this and that. And you're absolutely right about being an entrepreneur. My wife and I make the kind of money that most doctors would make, and look how long they would have to go to college and how much studying they would have to do and re-upping their education all the time and knowledge and stuff, where we make a great living running our small business.
Congratulations. And I think that's what people don't realize is that there are multiple paths. There is a lot of money to be made, and you don't have to follow the path that everyone else does. And, and at the end of the day, it takes a lot of work to become a doctor. And if you put that kind of work into your business, you probably have a much better chance of success and a lot more freedom at the end of it.
I think so. And I have to say, as far as working for yourself, I think there's nothing better, in my personal opinion. I love the freedoms that I have of being my own boss. Of course, you have many, many years of struggling, working, 80-hour weeks or whatever to get it built and the stresses that you go through. But when you've established yourself and you've gotten over that hump and you now can get those benefits, I tell you, there's nothing better than I still work a lot, but there's nothing better though when you can go off and you can do those dream vacations that you never ever thought you would do.
That is true. The rewards are there, and it's wonderful when you get to enjoy them. And today, there are so many courses. If I want to learn marketing, I'm not going to college to learn marketing. I already did that, and I didn't learn much. What I have learned a lot more from is just taking a marketing class from an expert in marketing like Seth Godin. And from home, for a fraction of the money, I can learn marketing at a much higher level.
And that's true, too. That's what our middle son has done with so much why he wanted to get his investment going. He has just spent hours and hours online researching and doing his own stuff. So much knowledge is available nowadays, compared to even when I was in college and all we had was the Apple II computer. There's so much out there, so many YouTube videos and information that at his fingertips that he has just gathered so much knowledge that he probably knows more now than when I got done with my college.
Well, and it's true, because when we went to college, knowledge was power. Today, anyone can have knowledge. It's taking action is where the power is, showing up, doing the 80 hours of work and going through the struggles and continuing to show up. That's where the power is today. That's where the money is today.
Yes. I feel like, and I hate saying anything about the millennials because I feel like they get a bad rap all the time, but my kids are all now, my youngest, she's 16 and just started working this year, and they all have really good work ethics. And it's funny how once they got out there that they've all been like, everybody around them doesn't do anything. Because my kids know, you get out there, you do your job, you work hard, and they put in their time and they go above and beyond. And so they see all these other kids around them, like, I guess maybe because it's not their career or this or that just don't work that hard and they just can't understand it. And my daughter has only been working for a few months and she's been promoted and stuff past these other people already because she works hard. And yeah, it's that action that will make you move along in your career.
And it's funny because I don't think people realize how much power and how much ability there is even as a young person. And I don't think I've even shared this story. So my first job, kind of real job beyond paperboy, was I started as a dishwasher, minimum wage, in a small restaurant in our neighborhood. And within that restaurant, like, I just showed up and I did the best job I could. And I just continued to move up in that restaurant, which then began to expand and franchise. And by the time I was, I think maybe a sophomore in college, they flew me out to Chicago to open a restaurant for them. And so you're thinking about, 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid is already well on his way to being able to, create an impact and earn money and do these types of things. And I think today, a lot of kids will do businesses on the internet, which is wonderful. But I think we need to encourage more kids to go do that because the economy's shifting and the world is changing. And as we go to a gig economy, the ability to show up, do great work, serve, and provide value is what's really going to drive the next generation to wealth.
Right. And I do think that's an area that's lacking too, just being motivated. I do think a lot of them want to do something on the internet or whatever, but the service industry, I just believe that everybody's got this college focus and people don't want to go out and do the service industry. And I think there's going to be so much opportunity for people in that area if they're willing to put forth that kind of effort and willing to get their hands a little dirty, that you're going to be able to make some serious money performing services because not too many people want to do that anymore.
Well, and that's true. I mean, if you think about it, a plumber cannot get replaced by outsourcing. An electrician can't get outsourced. A lot of these tradespeople have the ability to make six figures easily because of that. And if you start your own business and you start multiplying it and stacking and doing that kind of stuff, you have the ability to have a tremendous income. I mean, that's the biggest struggle we have. And we flip houses, we have rentals, and you talk to people, the biggest struggle is getting someone to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get workers who show up and do great work, I mean, it's a good, solid living in today's world. And there's no fear because you're not going to get outsourced.
No. And taking care of those people, that's one of our successes too, is that we take care of the people who work for us. I've had very low turnover because we do treat our people that work for us as like family. And I don't have a ton of benefits because we're a small company, but it doesn't matter so much because the work environment means so much to them that we're able to keep them around.
And that's important, treating your workers well and creating that positive environment and listening to them and giving them a little autonomy and freedom and treating them with respect goes very far. When I work with my people, I want us to be partners. I want them to be successful and I want them to be happy. So we try and find that happy medium between the two of us that we both get what we want and everyone's happy and things are awesome.
And, too, as a business owner and somebody who's built a business, and I'm sure you've seen this too, nothing greater than knowing that something you built and when you know these people and you care about them, the guy's been with me the longest has been, I think he's in his 6th year. It's amazing that my company is supporting his family. And that's why there's such like a family, because I've seen this and knowing that something I built and this guy enjoys working for me and it's helping take care of his family. And we're doing something that's helping people with their lives. And he's becoming successful too with his family and his 2 kids and his wife. And he's got a great marriage and everything's great with him because of what's going on with us and what we're doing. And we're being rewarded. He's being rewarded. And it's wonderful. And it's amazing when you get to see that happen and you had a hand in that.
Absolutely. So let's kind of take a step back because life wasn't always like this for you, was it?
No.
No. So you wrote a book. The book is called Growing Up Nobody. Why did you choose to write the book?
I actually started writing for my children. Both my parents died by the time I was 24. And so I kind of had this thing of, I can't ask my parents anything about my childhood growing up, about their lives or anything like that. So I just started writing for my children. And people who knew my story knew I was successful, knew I had overcome the things that I had overcome, said, you need to write a book. And I just kind of kept getting told this, like, you're an inspiration. You need to write a book. And I thought, well, I'm already kind of writing something. Maybe I should try to turn this into something maybe other people would want to read. So the book was born. It's a story of reading through the fact that I was bullied as a kid. My dad suffered with a mental illness, and my parents divorcing, and then my mother dying, and then I had to take care of my dad and my sister, and then my dad dying. So I go through this whole story of that, and then how I started following kind of my dad's footsteps. As my dad with his mental illness was very mean, and I found myself being mean and bitter at the world and everything too for this bad hand I felt like I was dealt. And really, then it takes a turn when I became a Christian and I learned about forgiveness. And that is part of my success in my business world, in my personal life, in I'm not saying being a Christian, but the forgiveness part, which if you become a Christian or something, that's good too. But forgiveness, I feel like that applies to everybody. I don't care if you're a Christian or what you believe. When you let that go, when you're able to let all this anger and bitterness go, by whether you think it's just the world that gave it to you or people who did you wrong or whatever, you're going to be happier and freer. And you are, I'm going to tell you, that's when I became a success. I ran this business for 10 years before I moved ahead in the ways that I've moved ahead since I became free of this anger and bitterness that I had, because it made me hold on to things, and it even gave me a license for revenge and things like that. So when I let that go, man, things changed.
So how do you just let go? I mean, how do you just forgive?
And it's not easy, and I do write about that. And I think everybody probably has a different path. I put people in categories, and I called people, one of the categories I called was the unintentional offender, which I think most people kind of fit into. Like my dad, to me, he was an unintentional offender because he had a mental illness. A lot of the things that he ever said to me and did was because of his mental illness. It wasn't really him. I think a lot of people can hurt you in ways that they don't know because they're either not educated in something, they don't know where you've been, and they might do something to you. I always think of like people, my wife and I, when we first got together, we both came from broken families. My parents divorced, her parents divorced. We didn't know what a good marriage looked like. We were able to offend each other very easily because we didn't know exactly how to make a marriage work. And it wasn't that we were bad people. It was a lack of knowledge. So I think a lot of people fit in that. And when I started to think about that and started to realize that about people, like, my wife wasn't really being mean to me. She just didn't know how to necessarily do something, or how I could be hurt by that because of my past or this or that. So I was able to forgive my dad, my mom. She was harder. She didn't fit in the unintentional. I think she had put her in an intentional category. But I was able to forgive all these people that I felt like could have helped me, could have done something. And yeah, it allowed me to free up my mind. And I don't think, in doing research and things too, I don't think people realize how 75% of like all doctor visits have to do with stress related stuff, because you have all these adverse effects from stress, like headaches and high blood pressure and depression, anxiety, and diabetes can even all be caused because of stress, because you don't let these things go. And I've always been a pretty healthy person, but boy, if you're suffering from any of those things, I mean, it might be that you're just putting this undue stress on yourself.
And that's true. If you're living today's busy company lifestyle, you're not eating well, you're not sleeping well, you add to that stress, it puts a ton of strain on our bodies. And depending on where you live, I think people don't realize the stress levels that they're under and what they have to deal with. And it isn't until you kind of step out of it that you even understand what normal is supposed to be. And I think that's a thing. Like, everyone has their own normal, and they don't realize that maybe their normal is way out of balance for what life should be.
Yeah. And the effects too, that's just your physical effects, your effects on your family and things too that you can be bringing home. It will change things in every area of your life. And um, I lost my train of thought about what you just said there, but I, it does. I was thinking of how in the business world too, this thing where I was saying you get revenge. What I found that I had done at times when somebody did something, they could take an account from you. I'd want to get back at them, so I would want to take an account from them, and I would take it at a lower price than I should be working for, just to get back at them. Well, that did no good for me. I'm just giving up my time for less money. Letting it go. I mean, you got to let these things go. It can affect your business world and your lifestyle because now I'm working for less money.
Which is not good. There's no race to the bottom.
No.
You want to race to the top, and you have to set your direction and where you're going to go. So you said there was unintentional offenders, and then you kind of touched a little on the intentional offender.
An intentional offender is harder to forgive because they did what they did on purpose. My mom, I felt, should have known better for things like she did. She got with a new guy before she even left my dad. That's just wrong. And I think a basic knowledge of most people know that that's just a wrong thing to do. And so she got with this guy, decided to finally leave my dad, and then they moved to California and left me here with 1 year of high school to live with my dad who has a mental illness, kind of abandoning me with this guy who's really in not good shape at all mentally, and to try to finish high school. No wonder I didn't graduate on time. So, yes. And of course, that's a low end of an intentional offender. I also think it can get to the high end of people who rape, murder, things like that. And I even say in the book, if you can forgive those people, you're a better person than I am. I don't know how anybody ever does that. I'm amazed when you get in, you see those stories on TV, people who can forgive the person who murdered their child. I just don't know how you do that.
I'm sure it has to be extremely difficult.
Yes. And I've never been in that situation. I don't want to find myself in that situation. It's amazing when they do. And then I only had 3 categories. And the first one, and really pretty darn common one too, is that ego booster person who, instead of, they bring you down so that they can feel good. They're going to always one up you, always kind of put you in your place just so they can feel good. And I realize so many people, especially your family members, can be that way. You might have a brother-in-law or something that's always trying to like one up you, just kind of keep you down there so he can feel better. So yeah, you even have to forgive those people. But those, to me, those were the fun ones when I started thinking about that. How many of us, including me, I fit in that category, I'm sure, quite often and don't even realize it, that I'll do that to other people.
And so how do you overcome that? When people treat you like that and put you down, what do you do in response?
Well, for me, I don't know, I might be lucky in this way. I've always had this attitude that if I don't really know you, I don't care what you think of me. So I've kind of had it easy in that respect. But if it's somebody I respect and they say something to me, that really cuts deeply. That's very hard for me to deal with because their opinion matters. But, if somebody said something online and I don't know who they are or something like that, I could care less. I just, they're stupid, whatever, But, when it's somebody that matters, that can really hurt and that can cut deeply at times. And it is hard. I'm not saying forgiveness is easy all the time. And I even would say a lot of times I feel like it's a revisiting process because sometimes things creep back up and, you got to kind of revisit it and say, no, I'm not going to be there, or I'm not going to think those things anymore. I'm letting that go. And I'm not saying it's easy in any of the categories because it can be very difficult. And that's why I think everybody has to have their own path. But once you can let things go, I'm telling you, I mean, not only in my marriage and with my children and everything else went to place, our income actually jumped up because I just started doing everything differently.
So what do you mean by that?
I think I didn't operate in this woe is me attitude that I had a lot of. I mean, I would walk around, and I got to admit, I still do that to somewhat today even, of I mean, this year I was just looking at our bottom line, and I had some major expenses this year that really kind of hurt. But I operated in that woe is me attitude all the time. And so I don't think I had confidence. I always felt like, well, I can't do it. It always goes wrong for me type of thing, which put me in this, I didn't even try. I wouldn't even try because I didn't want to fail again, or I just figured it was going to go wrong. And I don't think I took the risks that I would have taken if I didn't get out of that victim basically mentality and decide I was going to be the victor and I'm going to just make this stuff happen and I'm going to get it done.
We'll be back to Tim's inspiring story in a moment. Having the confidence to overcome failure and having someone on your back can help propel you forward in business. Once Tim learned to forgive and gain confidence, his business skyrocketed. Do you want someone on your side to help you move forward faster? That's what a coach does. They see the bigger picture, and they help you make small changes that create big differences in the results. Are you ready for change? And do you want someone to help you forgive and change the relationships you have? Reach out and see if I can help. A quick email can change your life. It's rocky@richardsoul.com. And now, let's hear how Tim went from victim to victor. So how did you change from victim to victor?
Like I said, the forgiveness one, once I get that out of my head, I was not letting that weigh me down because I'll admit, even though there was a lot of people that I needed to forgive, I just kind of felt like life in general. When you added up all the stuff, like all that stuff that I went through, my parents divorcing and both my parents dying and having to take care of my sister, all happened in like this 3-year period. I really felt dumped on. And I thought, who gets dumped on that much in their life? I know other people have had way worse things happen. I still have all my limbs and everything else. I just felt like this is crazy when I looked around at all my friends and everything. And sure, maybe they had a small thing happen here or there, but I really felt like I had this huge thing just dumped on me. Life's not fair. That was hard to let go of overall. But I started to realize, no, a big part of everything is how you react to it. So yes, these things, I had no control over my mom dying, but how did I react to it? Was I going to just sit there and go, woe is me, I have no mom, I can't do anything now? No, I mean, I just had to take life by the horns and say, I'm not going to let these things that are big, huge bumps in the road, they were complete detours. I mean, I also had a drive of wanting to show everybody I was not what they thought of me. I really believe that a lot of people just thought I was kind of that loser guy. And I wanted to show them that I wasn't. So doing that just made me take the horn and say, I'm going to show everybody that even with all these things, I'm not going to be what you think of me.
And we do have to choose our reactions. I mean, we are all dealt the cards that we are dealt. And then it's up to us to make the choices and to go forward. And to stand up. And it doesn't matter where we come from. Our future is only ours. And it's based on what we choose to do and how we choose to react.
Right. Like my mom dying, that I didn't have anything to do, but I think we start analyzing things too, how we react and a lot of the things that we do happen to us are kind of our own doing. Back in the day when I would chalk it up to life's so unfair when my car broke down and I didn't have money to pay for it. Well, you know what? That was my own doing because I wasn't managing my money right. If I was managing my money right, I wouldn't be yelling how life is so unfair. I would just be getting that checkbook out, writing the check, and then dealing with getting that money paid back or whatever. And so a lot of times it is how you set up things in your own life that is happening. We all have things that can happen that throw a big loop in you had no control over. But I got to say like 80% of the time, they're just things that you did that you didn't prepare for. You didn't do things right. You didn't react right. That makes it harder. And so once you start taking control of that stuff, you'll free up, like we talked about earlier, the managing of the money. Is not much that comes our way now out of the blue that we don't just handle and take care of. Not having that stress alone, that helps out with the whole thing of being able to be more calm and just, okay, I got to go back to work now, instead of tending to my wife and trying to calm her down and tell her how it's going to be okay. We'll get it paid for. We'll get it taken care of, and spend a day with your wife being upset. Those were trying, hard times. We don't have those as much anymore.
That's true. When you do things in the right order and you build your strong base, whether it be financial, emotional, everything else, you did the hard work to build your business. When you put the work and the effort into creating that strong foundation, then everything else becomes easier. We are going to have the ups and downs, even though we build the strong base. It's just that it's much easier to handle it because the foundation is there. And you have to do it in the right order, because if you don't build that first, then life's ups and downs can easily knock you over and be crushing.
Yes. And then when I was saying like big expenses for this year, we had over $5,000 in vehicle repairs for our business. I mean, ow, yeah, and that went off my bottom line. But did it knock me out or anything? No, So because we've planned and we take precautions for all this kind of stuff, it's so much smoother. And we don't have, like I said, boy, that really was the way a day would go before, when a car repair, even a $200 car repair, my wife would be worried, how are we going to pay for this? How are we going to pay for it? We barely make ends meet now and everything else, and as the man of the family, I always felt responsible that it's my job to provide and take care of things. And I always had to say, yeah, we'll get it taken care of, even though inside I was shaking myself trying to figure out, where am I going to come up with the $200? Yeah, get your things in order, manage things well. Sometimes it means going without for quite a while. And that's hard to do in this society because everybody's got the nice iPhone or whatever. But sometimes it means going without. But you will eventually be living better than everybody else. What is it? Something like most people can't come up with $1,000 in an emergency? That's crazy.
It is crazy. As Dave Ramsey says, live like nobody else so you can live like nobody else. And, that's literally when he hit tough times, it was pork and beans and pork or whatever it was. And now he lives in, I think it's like a 30,000 square foot house.
Yes.
But that's because he did the hard stuff. And he kept showing up and he did the hard work, and that's just the reality. And it's a matter of how much you want and how far up that hill you want to climb and how important it is to you.
Yes, and picking priorities. I live in a very average home, but if I listened to what the bank told me I could buy, I would be living in a darn nice house. But it's more important to me that we can take care of all our situation, all the things that come up and things like that. If I had this big house and a new 30-year loan, because my house will be paid off way early and I will be totally debt free here before too long. And who wants to do that? Start over at 30-year loan just so I could have this big, beautiful house and make everybody drive by and think how wonderfully I must be doing when I'm not, because now I'm struggling again every day just to keep the lights on in that place.
And that's what happens. I mean, people kind of climb that ladder and they continue to do that. And when you take out a 30-year loan when you're 50, I guess no one does the age calculation to realize, you're going to be 79 when you're making your last set of payments on that. I don't want to have all that responsibility and obligation and struggle to have to deal with at that point.
No, I understand it a little bit. You've worked hard many, many years. You feel like you should get the benefit of that. But man, I tell you, the freedom and the worry, Dave Ramsey's course is called Financial Peace. And I always say that is the perfect name, because the peace you get from not having all those worries, there's not a price tag you can put on that.
No, there isn't. Having a peaceful life is well worth it. Letting go of the ego and letting go of the desire to have everything. It's not to say you can't have nice things. We have lots of nice things, but everything in order and in time. You keep your expectations in line and you can do all kinds of amazing things. It just takes showing up and doing the work.
Yes. For anybody listening, I'm not kidding when I say that the sacrifice and everything is well worth it. When I was young, and I write about it in my book, we had Thanksgiving dinner brought to us from the church in a box one year. There was many winters where, and I live in North Dakota, so winters are cold. We wouldn't have money for fuel oil to heat the house. So we would get dressed, we'd turn on the oven and we'd stand in front of the oven for some heat and things like that. To where I am now, my wife and I take a cruise every year. And I have to tell you, that first time we took a cruise and I got a passport, which was cool to see because I'd never even seen a passport because nobody in my family would ever have one. And we went to another country and I sat on a beach with palm trees and an actual pineapple with a drink in it and everything. It was a dream. I would have never thought I would be doing something like that. All just because of sacrifice, hard work, not going crazy with our expenses, managing our money, and being, well, somewhat frugal. You're not frugal if you're paying for an entire cruise to another country or anything, but I mean, we manage our money well. I'm telling you, if you don't think that that can ever happen to you, that is not something my wife and I ever would have thought we were doing. And now we do it every year. And we still pinch ourselves because it's amazing to think that we could accomplish that. And I'm telling you, anybody can. This guy who didn't even graduate high school with his friends, I literally watched them go up and get their diplomas while I sat in the audience because I had to go to summer school to finish. And now I go on cruises every single year and travel to these other countries and things. It's amazing. Anybody can do it. I believe that about anybody. Everybody's got the possibility of making it.
And I say that many times. Your past does not dictate your future. You have the ability to do what you want and just to be appreciative of the things that you have in life. We live in an amazing time. And even for those of us who don't have a lot of money, you still have far more than most of the world. And you need to learn to appreciate what you do have and be thankful for it, because otherwise you're just miserable. And that's not a good place to be, right? You know, if you're always expecting something, then life will not live up to your expectations, and which is going to always put you in a place where you're angry and upset and hurt instead of being thankful for what you do have.
Right. I don't know if this is a true number or not. It was something I saw the other day, but it said that if you make like $35,000 a year, you are in the 1% in the world.
That is correct. You are.
Boy, we like to point fingers at our 1% here, but we are the 1% in the world. I don't take that lightly. I'm thankful, and that is one of the best things. And I really think that's another reason for my success, and I think that's something people need to have for their success, is to be thankful for what it is they do have, even if it doesn't seem like it's what the guy next door has.
And that is true. You can't always compare yourself because someone will always have more than you. Or you can just continue to struggle to beat them, but someone else will come along. And it's a never-ending wheel.
And if you're not just paying attention to your own race, you're watching the other guy's race, you're not going to win yours, is what I always think. You just gotta compare yourself to where you were yesterday. And that's what we do. And that's why I pinch myself, because I know that where I've traveled to is no big deal for some people that I know. I've got friends who travel to Hawaii every year, maybe several times. You know, they do amazing. I've got friends who go to Europe. I've never been to Europe. Things like that. They outshine me. And if I compared myself to what they were doing, I would be miserable. I'm thankful and can't believe that I get to do the things that I do. I mean, I was 46 before I ever bought a brand new car, you know, because of managing money. And I know you're not supposed to buy a new car, but I wanted to at least once in my life buy a brand new car. But it took me to 46 to ever do that. But wow, I can now stand there and I still, even though I've had the car now for 4 years, I still get in that thing and think, I bought a brand new car. Can you believe that? I bought a brand new car. You can do it, and it's amazing. Be thankful for those things, because it's amazing that we get to do that. And it's amazing to know that if you are making that kind of money, you are the 1%, and we should all just be thankful.
And that's very true. So you run a business. What's been, I guess, the secret to the success of your business? I've
run a very service-orientated business. So I believe I could teach pretty much anybody to do what I do, not maybe the management part of it, but the actual service that we provide. And I believe the biggest success we have is, and the reason we are so successful is customer service. Customer is number one. I believe anybody else could probably come along and do the same quality of work that we do, but I make everybody feel really comfortable. My wife runs our office. When they call, we often joke because we could be, I'm not trying to say we fight all the time, but we could be like arguing with each other about something about work. Oh, we need to do this and we should be doing that. And then the phone rings and she picks it up and she's like, hi. And she sounds so delightful because we understand customer service is number one. So I know that sounds probably typical, but it really is. And in this day and age, as somebody who provides a lot of customer service, I see how much is lacking. If you want to succeed, excel in that area, because so many people are not providing that level that I think people would love to have.
More and more service businesses are now going to become more and more impersonal in the sense of go to a website, click a button, schedule your service, call it a day. How do you differentiate yourself in that kind of a world?
One, I get to see my customers face to face most of the time. We do offer that too. People can just go to our website and schedule their appointment with us and things like that. I've actually got some customers I've never seen face to face, but the ones that we do on the phone and when we're there and I have a bunch of phrases and everything. I probably sound like a broken record to my employees when they hear me talk to our customers, but I know what kind of things make them feel comfortable and okay with us because we go to their homes. We're walking into people's homes and things like that they're comfortable when we enter their house because of the way I talk to them and I'm not gruff and things like that. So I think that's one thing we do in our industry that differentiates us is that we constantly have perfected over all this time things to make our customer feel at home, comfortable, trusting us because you're going to people's homes. There's stuff that can be broken. There's all types of things. So making them just feel very comfortable. And it has created what helped build our business is that personalization that has created all the repeat business. I have hundreds of customers now that repeat constantly and trust us. They're not even there. I mean, a lot of times. And I've seen a Rolex watch sitting there. So they trust us. And I think that's very important to have the trust, the customer service. And I think that is what's differentiated us in this business.
So one of the struggles that I see, and the biggest thing I hear from the businesses that I work with, especially in the service industry, is they can't get and retain good employees. How are you able to retain great employees?
I think the fact that I work alongside my employees, and I know that's not possible with everybody, but I like being out in the field instead of sitting in my office all day working with my employees. So I'm out there. I think I have a good rapport with everybody. And so we can talk, they can come and tell me things. And I've done small things like my employee's car was broken and I helped him fix it. Cost me some of my time, but I think it meant a lot to him. I think it's just treating the employees so well. And I've had ones come and go that just aren't going to work out. We try to weed them out right away in an interview process. That's not always possible. I hear that all the time too, and it's very difficult. Like I say, we go out and see customer service and we see what we're getting at other places, but I have gone without help rather than hire somebody who's going to do it a half job. Instead of providing it to the level we want, I'd rather go without and even turn away working and not get that bad reputation. Those are all steps that we've taken. We've just been very cautious in our interview. I'll turn away and lose money instead of just hiring Joe Schmo because that reputation is everything, especially online now. And everybody can leave a review and just say anything they want about you. I know I have a review on my Facebook. I can't get rid of the guy. Never even used my service. Just gave me a 1 star for no reason. Things like that. So it's very important. I just think it's the same with our customers, the relationships we have with our employees and working with them and training. And we work hard at training. And So often I think I see people just throw them out there to the lions so fast without giving them the proper training and things like that. And it's an investment in the people, and it pays off. The people that work with me stay with me for a long time.
Well, it's true. If you hire somebody who cuts corners and doesn't do the work and you don't do anything about it, then the rest of your employees start to lose respect for you, which causes even more trouble. It becomes this ever-growing issue. And so by cutting it off at the beginning and being intentional up front, you prevent all those types of problems.
Right. I don't know if it's training or just our process, but my employees almost annoyingly will call me too much to ask me questions about how I want something done. But I appreciate that. Like I said, sometimes it's a little annoying because you're trying to get other things done yourself, but they want to make sure they do it the way I want it done because they have respect for me and our company. I'm not sure if that's just their personality or our training. I think it's a little of both. I think we just hired the right people, and then we've trained and we've shown them exactly what we expect and how we want things done.
And that's important. Being intentional, you get the results you want, and life is good.
And when I say they were annoying, I've never told them that. I'm telling you guys that. But I don't tell them that because I'd rather them call and ask than to maybe not do it right.
And from a leadership management point, that is very important because your reaction will cause their next reaction.
Yes.
If they get in trouble for telling you bad news, they're not going to bring you the bad news. They're just going to cover it up, in which case the customer is going to bring you the bad news that this is what happened when you were at my job. And it becomes an even bigger issue. So how you react to problems and treat them and how you lead is very important. If you encourage them to bring you all the situations, then they're more apt to bring you situations versus hiding them or ignoring them or just moving along. And everything cycles either up or down, and it will compound in both directions. So which way are you going and how are you compounding?
Yes, agreed.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share today that we have not had a chance to share?
I think I just always like to encourage people that the reason from a title of my book called Growing Up Nobody is I really felt like a nobody. I never felt like I was ever going to amount to anything. I really felt like nobody cared about my opinion, that really I was just a nobody. And I write about it too, that I even at a certain point contemplated committing suicide. I was so lonely and so hurt and so down and had no confidence. And I'm telling you that if anybody, and if I always say, if this goofy guy in Fargo, North Dakota now can be out here and I do podcast interviews and I've done speaking things and I run a successful business and got great kids that are amazing, which that alone blows my mind because my wife and I know what we did when we were their age. So without the parental leadership that we should have had, if I can succeed and I can travel and go sit on a beach somewhere and I could be doing all these things, I'm telling you, there is light at the end of the tunnel. You can succeed. You can do all these things. Am I a millionaire? Am I going to be able to make a video and show you my 5 Porsches out in front of my mansion or anything? No. But I live so much better than I would have ever dreamed because I have put forth hard work, effort. I have let go. I have forgiven people. I have forgiven things. I have let stress out of my life. And I'm telling you, anybody can do it. If this goofy guy can do it, you can do it too. And I just want to encourage anybody to take those steps and move forward and move. And I'm telling you, you don't have to make a touchdown. Just move further down the field, one step at a time. That's all you need to do. And the next thing, you'll turn around and you'll look back and you'll say, whoa, how did I get here? You can do it.
And so we always ask, what is that one action step people can do this week to move a little bit further down the road?
I think because that forgiveness aspect was so large in my thing, I would think about that in your life. Just sit back and think, am I holding on to bitterness and anger? Am I just in this place where I'm just mad and at the world and mad at the circumstances that I've been given and things like that? And maybe try to let that go a little bit. Maybe just take a little bit of a step. It's not a process. You're going to just wake up tomorrow and say, hey, everything's better. But maybe try to let some of that go. Maybe even if it's just one person or one thing or something, just try to say, you know what? I hate to say forget, because you never forget, especially when somebody's wronged you. And I often say don't necessarily forget, because don't let them do it to you again. But you don't need it to be keeping that space in your head all the time. You don't need it to be there. So just maybe let it slide back a little bit. Say you're going to move on and just try to move forward just a little bit, and maybe let something go and let yourself have that little bit of happiness. Let it start creeping in, and a little more confidence and a little less stress. And maybe you'll just start moving forwards in that direction you need to move.
And I think that is a wonderful action step. We all have somebody or something we need to forgive. If it's holding us back, it's in our power to make it happen. And it's our choice to take the step and move forward. If people would like to learn more about you, find you, and connect, what is the best place for them to do that?
Go to my website. It's Tim Olson. That's OLSON.info. And there you can get on and look. And I'd love to have you follow me on my Facebook and Twitter, which is Timo, Timo, the number 2, and then Funky, Funky. It's not because I smell funky. It's because I love funk music. That's how that name came about. But I'm always posting inspirational things and things to hopefully empower people. So I love it when they follow and interact and things like that. And on the website, you can go there and check out about me, my book. This book took me 4 years to write. I have plans. I really would like to write another one that actually is more about what we're talking about today, trying to inspire people to move forward with their lives and accomplish the goals that they want. So maybe that'll be there someday. I can read some inserts from my book are on there, and just connect. It's just fun to connect, and people say hi on Twitter or Facebook too. I just love connecting with people.
And thank you for sharing. We'll have that all in the show notes to make it easy for everyone. It's been wonderful chatting with you today.
I appreciate it, Rocky. This was a lot of fun. I got to talk a little more business, which I'm passionate about. Most of my interviews are about my book, and this was a lot of fun to be able to talk about my business and things that I'm doing, and I appreciate that opportunity.
And I'm glad you had it. I think you'll inspire a lot of people with what you've done.
I hope so. That's why I'm doing this.
Tim never gave up. He just kept going. He learned to forgive and to overcome himself. Some of the biggest lessons in life. And that's inspiring. He took the time and he did the work. And now he's reaping the rewards. Was your backstory as bad as Tim's? What's holding you back? This week's action step, forgiveness. What can you let go of? Who can you forgive? Let it go and use your mental energy for something more worthwhile. We all have the same time, so use yours wisely and enjoy the journey. If you're still listening, you must have liked the episode, so please share it with a few friends and also leave a rating and review. I would appreciate that. What's preventing you from moving forward, and who are you putting on your team to build the life you deserve? Taking no action creates a far worse outcome in life than trying something and failing. Can I help you achieve your goals through coaching and accountability? Let's chat to see if we're a good fit for coaching. For many people, one session allows them to take a giant leap forward toward their dreams. I'd love to hear how you're doing and how the information I've shared has helped you. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.